FPL have revealed some huge player price reveals, including the likes of Florian Wirtz and Alexander Isak, alongside some controversial positional changes. So in today's video, we'll go over those price reveals and talk about whether you should actually be considering them in your Game Week 1 draft. So as always, if you're looking forward to today's video, make sure to drop a like and of course, hit that subscribe button if you are new around here. Enough waffling, let's get into today's video. So first up, we have to talk about the record signing for Liverpool in Florian Wirtz, coming in at 8.5 million as a midfielder. And the first thought when this price was announced is that this feels underpriced. Now, of course, we've had players come over from the Bundesliga that haven't necessarily replicated the stats that they had at their respective teams to their new clubs. But I think this guy is completely different. Anybody that's seen him play for both Bayern Leverkusen and the Germany national team, I think this guy is just absolute levels. Now, I get it. 8.5 million for a new man in a team, it makes sense. If they chucked him in at 10.5 million, nobody would touch him, especially with other premiums available in the game that have proved themselves in the Premier League. So I think it is the right price, but I do think this feels underpriced right now. Now, in terms of the actual fixtures, because we don't actually know what Wirtz is going to do until we actually see it in a Liverpool shirt, but we can address the fixtures that them as a team have. And I actually think they're not too bad. An opening game against Bournemouth, with them losing Huijsen and potentially their other centre-back in Zabanye, I think Game Week 1 could actually be fantastic for Liverpool. Opening day at home. Could we see 3 goals in that? I think there is definitely a chance. Game Week 2 and Game Week 3, though, are tricky against Newcastle and Arsenal. But then after that, Burnley away feels like a great fixture. Yes, they were good defensively in the Championship, but this is a different kettle of fish. Then Everton at home, the big game. And then, of course, Crystal Palace away. Now, what I want to mention is that a free hit strategy in Game Week 3 is something that's being spoken about because Liverpool play up against Arsenal alongside a few other tricky fixtures. And of course, with all of us now having double chips, playing a free hit in the first half of the season needs to be done. So why not do it at a time where other big teams play up against one another? So I'd actually look at this and think, if you're going to free hit in Game Week 3, you only really look at that Newcastle away fixture as a tricky game for these Liverpool assets. So I think Liverpool are great to invest in from Game Week 1. The big thing about Wirtz here is going to be dependent on what the Mo Salah price is. Now, if they do hike him up to around 14.5 million, then I absolutely think there is an argument to maybe go for Florian Wirtz as your Liverpool coverage, then have an Erling Haaland Cole Palmer combination with your premiums. However, if they keep Mo Salah at like 13 million, then I think it's very difficult to sit here and say, go for Wirtz, he can cover Mo Salah. We know nobody really in the game comes close to what Mo Salah can replicate. So I think probably, as of right now, the sensible thing to do would be to actually avoid in Game Week 1, monitor him up until Game Week 4, and then use your free transfers to maybe adapt your team to bring him in. I do like that strategy because it means you can wait and see on these tricky fixtures like Newcastle, like Arsenal. And then like we've spoken about, if he just proves incredible value, you haven't missed the boat. Do I think Wirtz is going to go off in the Newcastle and Arsenal games? I don't. The only one I think he really will go well in, possibly, is the Bournemouth game. And even then, it's a little bit unpredictable what those minutes are going to be. So I think this is really underpriced. I think he'll be incredible value this season. But I do think actually the play might be to wait and see on him and then pull the trigger around Game Week 4. If, remember, he's a record signing, he has been brought in to start each and every game. Once that happens, I think from Game Week 4 onwards, this is going to be a very popular player in our teams. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Next up is going to be one of the best value players last season in Alexander Isak, who has had a price hike. Last year, he was 8.5 million as a forward, obviously made a mockery of that price. And rightly so, they have decided to bring him up to 10.5 million. End of the day, this is one of the best forwards, not only in the Premier League, but in the world. And we saw his goal scoring contributions last season were just a joke. So if they did drop him in at 9 million, 9.5, it wouldn't be a deliberation. Everybody would buy him once again. So I think this is a really fair price for him. However, I do think it actually asks a lot of question marks because somebody like an Erling Haaland had an underperforming season last year, and I don't think managers are going to be able to do a premium combination of Isak and Erling Haaland alongside what is pretty essential to have a premium midfielder. So I really like this price point from FPL headquarters because it really will give us a decision to be made. And again, really ought to come down to the fixtures because it isn't a case of, are you going to have Isak? If the answer is no, you're never going to own him for the season. There's going to be times where we are going to want to own certain players and we're not going to want to own them. So when we take a look at the opening fixtures for them, Villa away is just always a tricky game. I don't look at that and think that he is going to be essential for that fixture. Then they play Liverpool home in game week 2. Again, I don't look at that and think I need Alexander Isak. However, the 3 games afterwards of Leeds, Wolves and Bournemouth do look very, very tempting, followed by Arsenal at home in game week 6. So it's basically tough, nice for 3, and then of course Arsenal at home in game week 6, which is difficult. So I actually think, first off, starting with him in your game week 1 teams probably isn't essential at all. I actually think if you can maybe navigate some chips over this period, might be the best way to drop in Alexander Isak and back out to your teams. For example, we spoke about the game week 3 free hit strategy. This might be the time to actually play it in game week 3, bring Isak into your teams for the Leeds away game, and then decide in game week 4 whether you feel like you need to also then transfer him into your teams or not. Likewise, if you're looking for an early wildcard, you could do it in game weeks 3 or 4 and bring him into your teams if you've made a mistake and he obviously hits the ground running once again at Newcastle. I think the big thing for me right now is he is the conversation of every transfer speculation. We don't know if he's going to Liverpool. There's been some conversations of going to a Saudi team. We don't really know. Even Arsenal. 10.5 million at Newcastle is a deliberation right now. However, 10.5 million going to an Arsenal team is a completely different subject altogether. If they buy him as the main man and he is remaining on penalties, then I think it becomes even better value in that Arsenal team as opposed to Newcastle with these opening fixtures. So I think right now, at the time of discussing this, obviously we've got 3 weeks until the season kicks off. I think he's an avoid in our FPL teams for game week 1 because remember, that's what it's all about right now, prepping ourselves for game week 1. And I can confidently say that if this remains the case and he stays at Newcastle, I'm avoiding him for game week 1 and game week 2 and then reassessing with either a free hit strategy in game week 3 or some sort of wildcard combination if we feel like he is essential for our teams. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I think it's a fair price, but I think it's one that a lot of managers will actually avoid. So we ended up getting one of the most anticipated defenders in Ait-Nouri announced yesterday, coming in at 6 million. Now, I do feel like this season we are in a position where the attacking defenders are a little bit back on the menu. We've got Kerkez and Frimpong at Liverpool, obviously Ait-Nouri joining Man City. So I think that we are going to have a great option of defenders this year. Obviously, if you haven't already, make sure you check out yesterday's video where I discussed the new rule changes, one of those being the introduction of defensive contributions, which is going to make centre-backs a bit more popular in the game. So make sure you check out yesterday's video where I really have deep dived into that. But still, attacking fullbacks are still going to be what managers are attracted to and justify those more expensive prices. However, I think this is a fair price at 6 million, but I do think it is expensive for a Man City defender like Ait-Nouri. Now, I'll discuss a bit more in a minute why this could either go 2 ways. It could either be way too expensive or one of the most underpriced defenders in the game, depending on what else gets announced. Now, again, when we look at the fixtures for Man City, I think the general consensus has been everybody's going to need some sort of Man City coverage because the fixtures aren't good enough. The tough games that they have, most of them are at home. Wolves away, we don't really know what we're going to get with them, but with big sales in the likes of Ait-Nouri and Cunha, we could see Wolves possibly struggle this year. Then Spurs at home in game week 2, United at home in game week 4, Burnley at home in game week 6. Really difficult to go without some sort of Man City coverage, whether it be attacking or defensive. However, I would argue the fixtures are maybe more beneficial for those attacking players rather than those that are defensive. Would I be surprised if a new look Tottenham team, maybe a better Man United side, a positive Brighton team were to score goals against City? I think the answer is yes. I fully expect them to concede goals over this period. So I don't think a Man City defender is necessarily absolutely essential for our teams. And then it really puts the pressure on Ait-Nouri being as attacking as what he once was at Wolves. If that is the case and Man City do get themselves sorted defensively and we get the attacking output that Ait-Nouri was showing at Wolves, then I absolutely do think that he is going to be a player that is on everybody's radar. And if he is clarified as the number one left back in this Man City team, then I think it's a no-brainer. He becomes a season keeper for our sides. But we need to see that first and foremost. So as of right now, I think Ryan Ait-Nouri is probably an avoid. I really want to see the other price points, but I think I have more confidence in other premium teams' defences rather than Man City. So this could be incredibly underpriced, but I want to see it first. I want to see Man City be good defensively. I want to see Ait-Nouri be attacking before I invest in them. So the final price reveal that we had yesterday was a goalkeeper. Boo. Yes, I know goalkeepers aren't the most fun, but they are important in the game. And that was going to be Everton's Jordan Pickford, who I think a lot of people have had in their radar going into this season, where we've all had the same mindset. We know Everton are good defensively, whoever is in charge over the course of a season. And Pickford is always the boring pick. And we always try to be a bit exciting because historically he's come in at 5 million. And that's always been that awkward price point where we feel like we might as well pay a bit more and get the better goalkeeper from more expensive teams, or just go and find the best 4.5 million goalkeeper. But each and every season it feels that Pickford just consistently delivers. And now he has got what I would say is a fair price rise to 5.5 million. But I would say this could be expensive depending on what we see from other goalkeepers. Remember, last season, the most expensive goalkeepers were 5.5. So maybe they're actually raising the ceiling of goalkeepers to 6 million or 6.5. If that's the case, I think Pickford is a fair price. But if he is the most expensive alongside Alisson, alongside Ederson, then I'm going to deem this expensive. I'd rather just get goalkeepers from premium teams and who I think consistently will get clean sheets. But as I discussed, I still think Pickford will be good value at 5.5 million. Yes, they don't have Sean Dyche in charge, but I think they've got someone like David Moyes that will keep games tight. And I do think they will have periods where they do rack up the clean sheets. We've seen that historically. Then when we take a look at the fixtures again for Everton, Leeds away, I don't know if that's actually a great fixture. I think that place is going to be bouncing in their opening game, but I think Everton are a better team, but I don't think that's a guaranteed clean sheet. Brighton, always a tough game. Wolves away, Aston Villa at home, again, I think that's mixed. Then they got Liverpool away, the big one, and then West Ham at home. So I think there are fixtures here that they can keep clean sheets, but I don't sit here right now and think to myself, at 5.5 million, I absolutely need Pickford in my team. And the big thing that I previously discussed is the introduction of the defensive contributions. Now, at 5.5 million with Pickford, if someone like a Jared Branthwaite comes in at 5 or somehow comes in at 4.5 million, then there's just no consideration here. We avoid Pickford and we go for the Everton defenders. And I do feel like if we do get somebody who we know is going to be locked in each and every week in that centre-back role, whether it be Tarkowski or Branthwaite, at a cheaper price to Pickford, just get the defender. We're going to get those opportunities for those 2 additional points for defensive contributions and the bonus points for what these Everton defenders usually do rack up. Yes, Pickford is great. He racks up save points, which could cancel out the defensive contributions. But if you're saving yourself 0.5 million, just get the Everton defender rather than the goalkeeper. So monitor this. I know I'll come back in 9 months and say to ourselves, why didn't we just pay the money for Pickford? Because he always delivers. But as of right now, I feel like this probably is slightly overpriced and a player that we can avoid. But let's see what the other goalkeepers are priced in at. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So alongside price reveals, we also had some positional changes announced. What I've done here is highlighted those that I think are positive changes in green and those that I think are actually diminishing the player's value in red. Yes, you're getting all the fantastic graphics on this channel here. So first up, Miles Lewis-Skelly. This was the most obvious positional change ever. Came into the game as a midfielder. In his youth days in Arsenal, operated as a centre mid. Arteta has obviously played him at left back, but inverted him into centre mid positions to kind of get the best of both worlds. And last season wasn't even a consideration for us because, of course, he wasn't getting any points for a clean sheet. Now he's priced in as a defender. This makes him really, really interesting. Whereas before, it basically was Timber, Gabriel or Saliba. Then Gabriel got injured, so it was Saliba or Timber. This actually gives us another avenue into this Arsenal defence. However, I think FPL will probably be quite smart and just rack his price up all the way to the top, because otherwise this feels like a really easy Arsenal pick in this team, unless Calafiori is going to be knocking on the door and taking Lewis Skelly's position. So I think that's a really positive change there. Next up, and the one I'm probably most excited about, is going to be Iliman Ndiaye at Everton. Now, we saw him last season. He was a forward. Obviously, Beto was the one that really racked up those big returns at times. But I do think Ndiaye is one of those players that we need to monitor. If he comes in at 5.5 million with those Everton fixtures, I think he's going to be really popular and maybe a great alternative to allow us to accommodate some of those premium players. Midfielder, I love that change. Now, Ryan Sessegnon, he had his spells last season. We brought him in. I think in that free hit, he done fantastic. Unfortunately, the days of the defender is over. He is now classified as a midfielder, so he can't be picking up those clean sheets, unfortunately. So Ryan Sessegnon, he died last season as a hero, but we won't be having him back in our teams this year, unfortunately. Now, I haven't highlighted Cody Gakpo. I just feel like there's going to be better picks in that Liverpool team, whether it be the fullbacks, Van Dijk for the defensive contributions. I think until Luis Diaz leaves, Gakpo is just an avoid right now. Now, Marmoush, interestingly, has moved from a forward to a midfielder, and that's going to now come down to all about that price. If Marmoush is competitive at 8 million as a midfielder, then that is sensational, because what could happen there is if they have Haaland at 13 million, Marmoush at maybe half the price, they won't do this by the way, and he still plays in very similar positions to Haaland, then Marmoush becomes an incredible option as a midfielder in the game. And as we've spoken about, I think you're going to want some sort of Man City attacking pick based on those fixtures. So I'm really excited by Marmoush. And also Matheus Nunes, changed from a midfielder to a defender. Played a lot last season at right back. Kyle Walker's gone, and they haven't actually invested in a right back. Now, at times, we might see Pep go for Ait-Nouri as a flying left back, play a Kanji at right back, and go to a back three out in possession. That could happen, but also, I think they want to hold width from Matheus Nunes, so there will be times where he does play. Will he play enough at right back to justify buying him? Probably not, but things might change. If he starts each and every week for Man City, he's cheaper than Ait-Nouri. I think he could be a great pick. Finally, the last two. Big money move Cunha going from Wolves to Man United has also seen him change from a forward to a midfielder. That is exciting as well. This is a guy that racked up bonus points just stepping onto the field. Now he's a midfielder, gets an additional point for a clean sheet and a goal, and also all those good stuff about bonus point accumulation. I think Cunha is going to be fantastic as a midfielder. The big thing is, can we trust him in a Man United shirt? Personally, I think he's an amazing player, but until I actually see Man United progress as a team under Amorim, I don't think we need to jump there right now and buy Cunha in our teams. But I think as a midfielder, this is really exciting. The big disappointment is going to be Jarrod Bowen. I think this is the death of Jarrod Bowen going into the season. They've changed him from a midfielder to a forward, and I just don't get this one. Jarrod Bowen has been operating on the right-hand side of a front three, at times going into central zones, very similar to that of Cody Gakpo. They've deemed Cody Gakpo a forward to a midfielder, but they've changed Bowen from a midfielder to a forward? I don't get that change at all, and unfortunately, he is now going into a very competitive pool of players as a forward, and because he's consistently delivered each and every season, Bowen's going to be an expensive price. And I just don't think anybody is going to be buying Jarrod Bowen this season. I think you can go cheaper for forwards that play in central zones at a better team. And you're also then just going to spend a bit more and get those forwards that are consistent as Jarrod Bowen. So unfortunately, I think Bowen is now off the table, but there are some great options now that have become available. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'd be really interested to know, but I'm excited about Ndiaye, weirdly enough, and I do like Cunha when we see Man United improve, if we do. Yes, guys, okay, so that's going to wrap up today's video. Take a look at those early price reveals and, of course, those positional changes. Now, the game is currently updating. It's Monday morning right now. I'm anticipating the game to possibly drop this afternoon. If that does happen, I'll try and jump on a stream this evening to react to all of that, and hopefully you guys can jump on that stream. Of course, if you want to make sure you are alerted to it, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, hit that notification bell, and if you enjoyed this video, please do consider dropping a like. It always massively helps, and let me know any thoughts you have in the comments section. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care, and I'll see you real soon. Cheers.